So COVID really, really sucks. As we all know quite clearly, over 6 million cases now in the US, and just continued interference in life. And now, um, as someone who has recently had to get tested because my roommate has tested positive for COVID, it's a perspective changer. It's something that really grabs a hold of you and shakes you. It's it's a weird feeling. I'm not concerned for, my health or safety. Obviously I'm taking the proper precautions to quarantine myself, wear a mask every single time if I'm ever in contact with anyone, which I am not anymore at this point. Um, and I'm just taking every precaution. But I'm not concerned about I could die at any minute. I'm not thinking that. It's just more of this is a really life changing thing. Even if you're in quarantine for for 2 weeks, and you have no symptoms, it's life altering. It is. It's strange. It's perturbing, and it presses the pause button on your life. It tells you to slow down and look to the things that are important to you, to the things that you're concerned for, and just focus on them. Because what you have in this time is your thoughts. What you have in this time is the ability to reflect and to say, what am I going to do? During this prolonged stay, what am I going to think about? What do I want out of life? Ultimately, are the questions that end up hitting in the face. And there's this saying that I remember this. I remember this scene of Breaking Bad where Walter White, played by Bryan Cranston, is sitting in the hospital waiting for his lab reports. To tell him whether his cancer has progressed further and he has less time, or if the treatment's working. And he's sitting next to a guy who's probably 15 years younger than him, maybe 20. And the guy says, my wife and I, we were planning on having a family. I just started a business. But as the saying goes, we make plans and God laughs. And, and then Bryan Cranston, stands up and says, that's no essentially that's no excuse. That the finite nature of life makes it so that you need to go out and you need to say the things you want to say. You need to do the things you need to do, and you need to live a fulfilled life and not be sitting on your hands saying, well, it's out of my control. But COVID is forcing us to do just that, in sitting on our hands and stepping away from everything. And that's all we can do right now, is to be considerate of one another, be mature, and look out for one another and say, look, I have potentially been exposed to this one thing, and I need to do my part in preventing the spread and preventing vulnerable people from getting this illness. And that's one thing that I hope we're able to take away from everything that's been going on with society in terms of the pandemic, as well as with the protest, is that we need a better, more sustainable earth. We need a more loving place for everyone, no matter race, ethnicity, religion, gender, so on and so forth. However people identify, there should not be qualms and quarrels of people accosting them. It's appalling that we live in a day and an age where things like this are still occurring. It's appalling that we live in a day and age where we are still forced to march for everyone to have equal opportunities and rights. It shouldn't be the case. People should understand right away that we're all the same. We all are trying to live a life that is fulfilling and gives us a feeling of love and acceptance. We're all trying to have that same life, and it doesn't matter what our background is, but there are still people that are oppressive. There are still people that are ignorant. There's still people that are immature and inconsiderate, and all these number of things. And if the pandemic and protests hopefully can do anything, it's bring us together. It's bring us closer to the visage and the vision that we strive for, and that's togetherness, that's harmony, that's love. And it's very difficult to imagine that because we've been conditioned to think that there will always be upheaval, that there will always be disenfranchised people, but that shouldn't be the case. Why does it have to be the way that it is? And the answer is, it doesn't have to be that way. The answer is, we can have a better world if we work for it, if we fight for it. And if COVID has, again, taught me, and hopefully a lot of other people, anything, it's that the value of giving your opinion, the value of speaking and saying when things are wrong, and lending your voice and stepping forward and saying, I'm going to take part in the solution. Now, I may have believed in the solution and the good fight for the entirety of my life, but I haven't done anything. Well, now is the time to do something. Now is the time to step up and say, change is coming, and I want to be a part of it. I want to be a part of the solution. And it's wild times. It's wild times. It feels like a fever dream with everything that's going on with a pandemic. Who'd have thunk it? A pandemic coming out of the abyss, the blue. Just who would have expected the pandemic? And I feel like the pandemic and the forced quarantine on a number of people, including myself, it shifts everything. It shifts everything. It makes you reevaluate everything. Even if I get the results back and I'm completely fine, it's changed my perspective, and it's changed the way that I think. And I hope that we're able to create a better world, that we are able to go through and make life as good for everyone as it can possibly be. And it may be naive to say, but why can't we live in a peaceful world? Why can't everyone get along? You look back at any religious text, the Bible's a good example. Cain and Abel, brother killing brother, and then you look at Roman history, Romulus and Remus, brother killing brother. It's a part of the fabric of our history to be violent against one another and to create problems in peace. Enough is enough. We need to challenge the status quo. We need to challenge the things that say, well, this is just a part of how things are. No, that's not an acceptable answer. That never has been, but it especially is not now, with all the platforms we have in which to speak, on social media, in public, on television, anywhere and everywhere. We need to change. We need to make this world better and more sustainable. And when this pandemic ends, hopefully sooner rather than later, we're able to see the fruits of our labor, and we are able to see a better, more peaceful and loving world. Thank you.